Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Reza. For company background, we choose Toyota. Toyota Motor Corporation, generally known as essentially Toyota, is a Japanese worldwide car maker settled in Toyota City, Aichi, Japan. It was established by Kichiro Toyoda and fused on August 28, 1937. Toyota is one of the biggest car makers on the world, delivering around 10 million vehicles each year. The organization was a side project of Toyota Industries, a machine creator began by Sakichi Toyoda Kichiro's dad. The two organizations are currently essential for the Toyota Group. Today, Toyota has get together plants and wholesalers in numerous nations. Notwithstanding car items, its auxiliaries produce elastic and stopper materials, steels, engineered gums, program weavers, cotton and woolen merchandise. Others bargain in land, pre-assembled loading units, and the import and community of unrefined components.
I will start by giving out the profile of the country. Brazil is South America's most compelling country, a rising monetary power and one of the world's most greatest vote-based systems. Throughout the course of recent years, it has taken significant steps in its endeavors to raise millions out of needers, albeit the whole among rich and helpless remaining parts wide. The double dealing of the Amazon rainforest, a lot of which is in Brazil, has been a significant global concern, since the wild is an indispensable controller of the environment. A previous Portuguese province, Brazil has an exceptionally assorted populace, including Native Americans and the relatives of African slaves and European pilgrims. Resigned Armed Force official Jair Bolsonaro prevailed upon a definitive triumph, the middle-left Workers' Party, in the October 2018 official political race, and got down to business in January 2019. An individual from the Social Liberal Party, an insurrectionary gathering that joined social traditionalism and supportive of market approaches, Mr. Bolsonaro is a profoundly polarizing figure whose prior gut of the tactical autocracy has frightened numerous Brazilians. In any case, after his success, he has attempted to guarantee citizens that he will shield a majority rule system and maintain the constitution. Mr. Bolsonaro's guarantee to purify Brazil of defilement demonstrated especially well known in a country that has seen many government officials from the standard gatherings in prison. Among his lead arrangements are an unwinding of weapon laws to permit each legit resident to possess a gun, a cut in state mediation in the economy, and the chance of withdrawal from the 2015 Paris Environmental Change Understanding.
Good evening to Sir Franklin. My name is Awang Kuzairi. My matrix number is 2019 489-364. Today I will explain about demographic factors in Brazil. Brazil enumeration tends to identity and race by ordering individuals primarily by skin tone. It requests that individuals place themselves into one of various classifications, some of which will appear to be surprising to an American or European. Just as native, the little class, Brazilians are approached to report whether they accept they are white, dark, brown, or yellow. The after effects of the evaluation show that 92 million, which is 48% Brazilian, was white. 83 million, which is 44%, were brown. 13 million, which is 7%, were dark. 1.1 million, which is 0.5%, 50% were yellow, and 536,000, which is 0.25%, were native. This strategy for characterizing race is questionable inside Brazil, and IBGE has been censured for proceeding to utilize it. Next, the Brazil religion, economy, and politics. The primary religion in Brazil is Christianity, and around 90% of the population is either Catholic, 65% of Protestant, 22%. Indeed, Brazil has the world's biggest Catholic populace of 123 million individuals, just as Christianity. 1.3% of individuals detail themselves as Spiritism. 0.3% announce themselves as supporter of customary African religions, and 1.3% reveal themselves as admirers of a different scope of different religion. Likewise, 7% of Brazil announce themselves as being non-strict. The main language in Brazil is Portuguese. Life expectancy has grown in Brazil 71.6 years for men and 78.8 years for ladies. It assess all kinds of people will live longer than 80 years on normal by 2041, and that implies Brazil will likewise be managing a maturing populace in a little while, with more prominent requests on benefits and medical services. The current middle age in Brazil is roughly 32 years old. Next, I will explain about population in Brazil. The population development rate has anciently diminished in Brazil. In 1951, the development rate was 3.02%, and in 2019, it was 0.72%. After reaching its population top in 2045, Brazil population is open to diminish gradually, beginning at a development pace of 0.01%. Brazil fertility rate has fundamentally diminished since the 1950s, when the all-out richness rate was simply over 6 births for each lady. Starting at 2018, the rate of birth was 1.75 births per lady. This clarified the easing back population development. Also in 2039, it is assessed that there will be a larger number of older folks in Brazil than there are youngsters, prompting an expanded death rate to follow. The country growth is in numerous ways hampered by the huge number of Brazilian ladies entering the labor force and deciding to stand by longer to have youngsters. The rate of birth in Brazil has dropped an extraordinary arrangement since the 1970s, when ladies had a normal of north of 4 youngsters. Today, the rate of birth is 1.77 births per lady, which is lower than the US rate. It assessed this rate will tumble to 1.5 by 2034 and stay at that level through 2060. The pattern of the diminishing growth rate is really open to the proceed for a long time to come. By 2020, it is anticipated that the quantity of residents will grow near 214 million. The population will keep on developing increasingly more leisurely until around 2050, when it is really open to the deteriorate and ultimately begin diminishing.
Hello, my name is Muhammad Izon Daniel, and I will continue to explain about the industry of country in Brazil. First is services, which is services industry employs many people and accounts for almost half of the Brazilian economies. Leading services industry also include education, finance, healthcare, domestic service, and tourists that related in business. Tourists come from all over the world, especially to Manaus, Salvador, and Rio de Janeiro, which is in Brazil. And the second is manufacturing. In Brazil, it is a leading industry country in Latin America because many foreign companies have built factories in Brazil, although most industrial factories are owned by Brazilian, which is food and textile processing are industrial giant. The industry is based on Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, but now is growing rapidly in many other cities. Volta Redonda, for example, was a small village, and today it has become one of the largest steel works in Latin America. Manufacture of cars, commercial vehicles, television set, chemicals, and consumer of goods is also growing rapidly in Brazil. The almost serious obstacle to industrial growth is the shortage of mineral fuel such as coal and petroleum. The construction of hydroelectric plants on the Brazilian river has helped provide electricity. The country is also turning to nuclear energy as an energy source. And the third is, I will explain about the agriculture, which is agriculture product Brazil main export, which is the country is among the world's leading producer of soybeans, coffee, cocoa, a source of cocoa and chocolate, which is sugar corn, cassava, manioc, orange, bananas, pineapples, tobacco, and cottons. Cotton is grown in the south for export and in the east to supply the Brazilian textile industry. Beans, rice, and cassava are widely grown for local consumption. Jute used to make a sack. Sack and yam was introduced by Japan's immigrant. And despite Brazil's rich agriculture, however, some food must have imported. Brazil now is a major cattle breeding country. It also exports larger quantities of meat and other animal products, which is a pig are also widely farmed, and which is like a horse and other animal. And the third is mining and forestry, which is iron ore is Brazil's single leading export. Manganese, bauxite, chromium, and many others mineral are mined, and new mineral discovery are constantly being made. Wood is cut for export and also processed into wood pulp, paper, and other products. However, due to pollution problems and paper marking, environmentalists are debating whether limits should be placed on the industry. And fourth is and fifth is I will explain about the trade. Okay. Brazil said to the product to other country to pay for import of fuel and lubricant, machinery, chemical, food and technology imports, and also come mainly from Western Europe, Japan, and United States, and also Venezuela. Brazil is a partner of Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay in Mercosur, and economic common market established in 1991 that removes tariff barrier and makes it easier for member countries and the United States, which is Brazil, supply wide variety of raw materials and consumer of goods to other Latin American countries. And the last one is transportation, which is transportation in Brazil is always difficult because the country is so big. Settlement, town, and cities are far from each other, and mountains and forests often separate them. The Great Escarpment has caused road and track construction to slow down. When Brazilians travel long distance, they have to travel by plane or bus because passenger railways are inadequate. The road on the beach is good but congested with traffic. Air travel connects all parts of Brazil. Brazil domestic air network has become one of the busiest in the world. There are many excellent ports that are busy World Trade Center. And I think that's all the part that I have explained of industry which is in Brazil. Thank you.
For major trading partner, it is point at which a country from which another nation buys or offers merchandise to one another. In addition, it is extremely significant as far as fostering a country. Brazil also involved in export and import of goods and services from various countries. It is important major trading for every country. A nation cannot develop and cannot get the labor and products that the absence of, and it will result to a terrible outcome to that nation and will influence their financial and economy if they do not have this major trading partner. Major trading partner for Brazil are China and United States. Both of these countries holds the post of the economy largest market. As indicated by a dependable review, Brazil exports fails to 20296.06 USD millions in November, down from 22518.30 USD millions in October of 2021. Moreover, Brazil economy is export-oriented, relying on raw material shipments 50% of total exports and manufactured goods 36%. The nation trade predominantly soybeans and related soy products account for 17% of total exports, followed by transportation equipment and components 12%, and oil products 13%, China 27% of total exports. The United States 12%, Argentina 6%, Netherlands 5%, and Chile are the top exports partners 3%. Next, Brazil understands that the absence of a certain merchandise in their country. They take elective by importing in it with another country, which is gainfully delivering it. As indicated by the panel review, Brazil imports increased to 21603.13 USD million in November, up from 20519.36 USD million in October 2021. Brazil's imports primarily manufacture goods. 85% of total imports, specifically machinery, fuels and lubricants, chemicals and pharmaceuticals, and parts and accessories for motor vehicles and tractors. The country also imports raw materials 10%, the majority of which are crude oil, coal, natural gas, and wheat grain. China 19%, the United States 16%, Argentina and Germany 6% each, as well as South Korea and Mexico are the top import partners 3% each.
For culture, there are 8 cultures that we can find in Brazil, which is architecture, music, literature, cuisine, cinema, theater, visual arts, and sports. Let's see one by one of the cultures in Brazil. In architecture, the design architecture of Brazil is affected by Europe, particularly Portugal. It has a set of experiences that returns 500 years to when Pedro Cabral found Brazil in 1500. Portuguese provincial engineering was the principal wave of design to go to Brazil. It is the reason for all Brazilian engineering of later hundreds of years. In the 19th century, during the hour of the Empire of Brazil, Brazil pursued European directions and took on neoclassical and Gothic revival engineering. Then, at the point in the 20th century, particularly in Brasilia, Brazil tried different things with modernist engineering. The provincial engineering of Brazil dates to the mid-16th century when Brazil was first investigated, vanquished, and settled by the Portuguese. The Portuguese fabricated design natural to them in Europe in their mean to colonize Brazil. They fabricated Portuguese provincial design. Brazilian writing traces all the way back to the 16th century to the compositions of the main Portuguese adventures in Brazil, like Pero Vaz de Caminha, loaded up with depictions of fauna, greenery, and analysis about the native populace that intrigued European perusers. Brazil delivered critical works in Romanticism. Authors like Joaquim Manuel de Macedo and José de Alencar composed books about adoration and torment. Alencar, in his long profession, additionally regarded native individuals as saints in the indigenous book of Guarania, Iracema, and Ubirajara. Brazilian cooking changes extraordinarily by district, mirroring the nation's shifting blend of native and worker populaces. This has made a public food set apart by the safeguarding of provincial contrast. Models are feijoada, considered the country's public dish, and provincial food sources, for example, beiju, feijão, tropero, vatapa, moqueca, polenta from Italian cooking, and acarajé from African cooking. The public drink is espresso, and cachaça is Brazil's local alcohol. Cachaça is refined from sugar stick and is the primary fixing in the public mixed drink caipirinha. A run-of-the-mill supper comprises generally of rice and beans with hamburger, salad, french fries, and a singed egg. Frequently, it is blended in with cassava flour, seared potatoes, singed cassava, singed banana, seared meat, and singed cheddar are frequently had in lunch and served in most commonplace cafes. The Brazilian entertainment world started in the late 19th century, during the beginning of Belle Époque. While there were public film creations during the mid-20th century, American movies, for example Rio the Magnificent, were made in Rio de Janeiro to advance the travel industry in the city. The movies Limit in 1921 and Ganga Bruta in 1923, the last option being created by Ademar Gonzaga through the productive studio Cinedia, were ineffectively gotten at discharge and fizzled in the cinematic world, yet are acclaimed these days and yet set among the best Brazilian movies ever. The theater in Brazil has its starting point in the time of Jesuit extension when theater was utilized for the scattering of Catholic regulations in the 16th century. In the 17th and 1800s of years, the main producers who showed up on the location of European induction was for court and private exhibitions. During the 19th century, sensationally venue acquired significance and thickness, whose first agent was Luis Carlos Martins Pena in 1913 to 1948, equipped for portraying contemporary reality. Brazilian artwork arose in the late 16th century impacted by Baroque, Rococo, and abstractionism, making it a significant workmanship style called Brazilian scholarly craftsmanship. The Missão Artística Francesa, French artistic mission, showed up in the Brazil in 1816, proposing the formation of a craftsmanship institute displayed after the regarded Académie das Beaux-Arts, with graduation courses both for specialists and experts for exercises and demonstrating embellishing carpentry and others by bringing specialists like John Baptiste Debré. The most well-known game in Brazil is football. The Brazilian men's public group is positioned among the best on the planet as per the FIFA World Rankings and has won the World Cup competition a record multiple times. Volleyball, b-ball, auto-hustling, and combative techniques additionally draw in enormous crowds. The Brazil men's public volleyball crew, for instance, as for now, holds the title of the World League, World Grand Champions Cup, World Championship, and the World Cup. In auto dashing, 3 Brazilian drivers have won the Formula One Big Showdown multiple times. A few game varieties have their beginnings in Brazil: oceanside football, futsal is an indoor football, and foot volley arose in Brazil as varieties of football. In hand-to-hand fighting, Brazilians created capoeira, veltudo, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
For the recruitment strategy, we as an international human resource manager of Toyota company, we decide to recruit both of experienced and younger manager. The both of experienced and younger manager have their own benefits and weaknesses. However, we aim to recruit more well-experienced manager than the younger in order to cut the cost. At this point, quality are better than the quantity. The first thing first, our part of strategy is to recruit the worker who have already involved and have an experience in automotive industry. Most of the experienced workers have a self-knowledge. People with a greater experience are far more likely to feel stable in any situation. Well-experienced managers have self-awareness, which allow them to be a better communicator, mentor, and best practice. They do also have a passion during time of change and when they have been disturbed. Furthermore, we would recruit the retired professional person. The retired person mostly a mature person. They are very dedicated and have a responsibility with their work. As a result, an older person are more likely to perform duties properly and on time in the workplace. Retired person also have a better awareness of office cultural sensitivities, which reduce the chance of workplace problem. Moreover, we would like to recruit a skillful person to work with the company. The skills and experience is actually same, but there are some differences. experience mean they have a work history in the particular of sector. Meanwhile, skill is the ability and knowledge to perform an action. Skilled people must into their workforce for every company. This type of workforce give company a value productivity, efficiency, loyalty, and pleasant working environment. We also believe in our decision to recruit the younger workforce in Toyota company to fill the position. Toyota company need to improve their worker if they are unable to recruit the skilled workforce that they need. If we can get it, we must to create it in other hand. Younger person are well-known, passionate, and energetic person. They enjoy their jobs because they are very passionate about what they do. As we know, younger generation in Brazil is very passionate in their love of dance and music. Last but not least, we also want to recruit the fresh graduate student. It is also part of our recruitment strategies. Fresh graduate is a student who finish their further study. We focus to recruit on the automotive, marketing, financial, human resource, and administration management student. Even they have no experience in the world of work, we believe that fresh graduates have a potential. That's the reason why we recruit them, because they are up to date with the new technology. It is true that the new generation are highly skilled at working with new software, technology, and have great computer skills. They have been exposed with the modern and high technology since they are still young. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you to the previous presenter. I will present about the selection strategies. Our company must use the good selection strategies to get good workers. Firstly, the managerial competence. We must see if the workers are competent with their job that we have asked them to do. If the workers do their job lightly, it will give many problems to the company. Secondly, the workers must have appropriate training. It is because every job are using skill, knowledge, and experience. By an appropriate training, they can do the job easily. So, we must search the background of the workers if they have an appropriate training. Thirdly, the workers that the company have hired are adaptability to a new situation. As we know, there are many workers from the other country. With different culture and situation will give them a bad impact in their work if they cannot adapt with the new situation and new culture in the other country. Lastly, by using local workers as our main workers, it will be easy for us to send them back to their hometown during their holiday. Besides that, the cost to send the workers also will be low. That's all from me.